What's up, guys, and welcome to part 3 of the card review for the neutral cards in the Genesis set. And let's jump right into the first card, which is Sign of Avarice, where at the start of your turn you gain the ability to use your god power twice during the turn. This card's pretty interesting. It depends on whether the meta, where the meta goes, but being allowed to play the god power twice might be super interesting in things like, for example, Nature Forage, in Blast Wave with Mage, and things like that, because it's fairly cheap to play, and it might become super powerful. But I'm still inclined to put this card in the 3-star category because it hasn't seen a lot of play. Actually, I've never seen this being played. And the fact is that mana and mana costs in Gods Unchained are pretty powerful, and you are paying way more attention to the mana that you're spending each turn. So this card is not as great as it could be. Next we have Boostwalker, where it has burn 1 and it gives another Atlantean Twin Strike and +2/+2. This card's super good. The only problem is that there's not a viable Atlantean deck yet, but once that deck comes into light, then this card's gonna be super good because it's essentially a 4 mana 6/6 with burn 1, which is not terrible. A 4 mana 6/6 with burn 1 means that at the end of the turn that you summon it, it's gonna become a 6/5, and 6/5 for 4 mana is amazing. You're playing cards for 7 mana that have 6/5 worth of stats, so this card is super good. I'm gonna put it in the 4 stars, even though that there's not that many Atlanteans yet, and an Atlantean deck's not viable. But in the future, it will be. So this card is gonna go right into the top. Then we have Death Mask, where whenever another friendly creature dies, give burn +1 to a random enemy creature. And this stat line is pretty good. It's a 3/5, so it's fairly easy to stay on the board. And giving burn +1 to enemy creatures is really important. But I'm still gonna put this card in the 3-star category because it hasn't seen a lot of play, and the issue is that giving burn, if it was deal 1 damage to an enemy creature, it would be much better, and for me it would be 4 stars. But since it's burn, it's a delay type of damage, so it's not as good. After this we have Friendly Mimic, and Friendly Mimic for me is a 4-star card because the possibilities that you can do with this are absolutely amazing. If it's a rare card, so it's fairly cheap to get, so if you can get it, please get it, because you can copy legendaries, you can do copy super useful cards like Demogorgon and things like that. So and the possibilities are basically limitless, and that's a great card to have. Then we have Bone Pact Hunter, where it gives a friendly Amazon +3 strength, and then so I consider this card as a 4 mana 6/3, which is pretty good. And like we've seen before, Amazons are super powerful, and they're typically run in nature, which has really strong creatures, so this card compounds that even further, so I'm gonna put it in the 4-star category as well. Then we have Sungun Construct, confuse an enemy creature. This is okay, it's not great, it's not bad, it's okay, so it's gonna be 3 stars. I think this would benefit from being 4/4 in terms of stats. It would be playable. At this current stage, I wouldn't say this is that playable, so it's 3 stars. Then we have Enduring Glamour, where at the end of the turn, pull this card from the void into your hand. If you're running a card that has a really type of aggressive deck, this is quite interesting because you're always going to have this card to play, but I haven't seen this being played a lot because those types of decks typically run mostly 1 and 2 mana cards with some 3 mana cards. 4 mana cards that are not usually played in those types of decks. So I'm gonna put this at 3 stars. It has some potential to be useful in the future, but right now it's not. Next one is Millennium Matryoshka. The afterlife is summon a random enemy, and this is an Atlantean. The thing is, NMs are usually worth 3 mana. So that means that, or 3/3 worth of stats. That means just this card's generally a 4 mana 5/5 in terms of bare bones stats. And that's fairly good. It's a good Atlantean card to have. It's not great, so I'm gonna put it in the 3 stars category, but it complements the Atlantean package pretty well. Then after this we have Finks Cats, where it has Roar and summons 2/2 Broken Warriors, so that's a 4 mana 5/4. And for me, this card's really bad because at the 3/2 stat line with 2/1/1 Broken Warriors, the Bonded Warrior works because it's fairly low and it doesn't have a lot of commitment. But here with Finks Cat, like once you can start getting into the 4 mana slot and 5 mana slot, you're not running a lot of those cards in your deck. Possibly maybe the 4 mana slot, like 4 cards, 5 cards, and occupying one of those slots with Finks Cat is not great. So I'm gonna put this in the 2 stars because it needs to be much more powerful in order to be viable. At least a 3/3 or even a 4/3. Then we have a 4 mana 6/3 with Flank, so that's the comparison I would do. This would be the Bone Pact Hunter, it's the equivalent. But the thing is, Bone Pact Hunter gives you a lot of flexibility because you can give it to an Agrodar Protector, you can give it to a Kaipora. And so since we put the Bone Pact Hunter at 4 stars, I'm gonna put this Jaguar Rider at 3 stars because it's not as great and the stat lines are not amazing. Then we have Nether Nanny, and Nether Nanny is okay, it's not great. I would put this would be better at a 3 mana curve, but with 4 mana 4/4, and whenever it survives damage it summons a 1/1 Inkling. It would be better to have summon 1/1 Inkling for each amount of damage that it takes, for example. But anyways, this is a 3-star card. It's good. It's on the upper ends of 3-star cards, but it's not great. So Bola Fuego. This card is really interesting. It depends on the meta. The meta is super spell heavy. Doing this is pretty disruptive to the opponent because they're gonna have to spend the Rune of Sights. They're gonna have to spend that mana to get those spells back. And the issue here, I would consider this like a staller, or like basically increasing the cost of the spells they're gonna play. So I'm gonna put this card in the 3-star category. It's not amazing, so it's 3 stars. Then we have Sky Reaver, and Sky Reaver is super good. It's gonna be 4 stars for sure. The issue with this is that generally people don't let this live because it's after Annihilator attacks. It's not this card, so any Annihilator. If you're running an Annihilator deck and you have 3 Annihilators on the board and you play this and you attack with 2 of them, you're already drawing 2 cards on top of having a 5/5 minion put on the board, and that's amazing in terms of stat line. So it's typically not run, it doesn't typically survive more than 1 turn. So you would be playing this to be able to draw a specific amount of cards and to focus the opponent's removals on this card. But still, it's 4 stars for me. Next we have Odysseus, Tried Victor, another 4-star card because it synergizes a lot with different heal types of cards. In Light, for example, you have the Golden Harpy, which works well with this. You have other types of heal cards that work well with Odysseus, but it's a fairly good card because it puts 4 cards on the board that need to be dealt with, and it's a good protection type of wall. So 4 stars. Next we have Black Argo, Flank Roar. Each other friendly Olympian gets +1 strength and flanks. It doesn't have Blitz, so it's not that great. The issue here is that the problem with this card is that it's super slow. Even though, well, Olympians, you're typically not going to have a lot of Olympians on the board because you want to have them in the void. So the effect's kind of useless. So I'm going to put this at the 3 stars because it's not that great. Then we have Nulma, and Nulma has a really good stat line for 5 mana, but whenever this creature takes damage, deal 2 damage to your god. If you're running a super aggressive deck, then you can put Nulma on it, and it's a fairly good card to have because it's a hard thing to deal to deal with. 6 damage, survives an Inferno, survives a lot of stuff. A Worm Breath and those types of things. So I'm gonna put this card in the 4-star category, in the 3-star category, sorry, because you're still taking a lot of damage to your face, and possibly this card is gonna take anywhere from 2 to 3 2 attacks to maybe even 6 attacks. If they have a lot of 1-statted creatures, then they're gonna target this creature a lot, and they're gonna give you 2 damage for each. So for example, you will take 12 damage just for 1-statted creatures, and that can be super annoying. So it has a really good upside but a really bad downside. It's okay. 3 stars. Then we have Aegis Commander, and like I said before, anything that has Delve right now, it's super powerful, and delving a creature with frontline is even better, even though this stat line's pretty bad for 5 mana, but delving a creature with frontline is gonna give you a lot of flexibility because you're gonna be able to choose which card suits the best for your specific scenario. So this is definitely a 4-star card in my opinion, and this should be run in a lot of decks. Then we have Dragontooth Warrior, where after this creature survives damage, summon a copy with half health. This card for me, it's 2 stars because it's super bad. So surviving damage means that it's gonna be at least 2 health, right? It's at least 2 health, and then it's gonna summon 3/1 another 3/1 creature, which means that you're getting 6/4 worth of stats for 5 mana, which is not great. And the thing is, unless you're buffing this card up, then if you buff it, then yeah. But even then, I think they nerfed it a bit to not be able to summon just a complete copy. That would be better. But in this case, I'm gonna put it at 2 stars because it's completely bad for what you're getting for. Then we have Amputian Magus, where it has backline and it gives you a rune each time a creature dies. This is 4 stars for sure, because backline creatures are generally hard to be dealt with unless you have specific spells. And giving you runes is always good because for each rune you get, you're basically gaining 1 extra mana and a lot of flexibility. So that's really good. 4 stars. Then after this we have Reflection Elementalist with Ward, and Ward transforms a friendly creature into a Reflection Elementalist. This is kinda interesting. It has a lot of potential because if you're running low mana creatures, transforming a 1/1 into a 3/4 with Ward, it's super good. So I would consider this the amount of stats that you're gaining for the card that you're converting. So for example, the lower card you convert, the better your upside. So if you spend 1 mana on a 1/1, and then you transform it into a Reflection Elementalist with this effect, then you're essentially getting so 3/4 worth of stats is, I would consider this 3 mana. You're getting 2 extra mana because you gotta discount the 1/1 1 mana, and then that would leave you with 2-3 worth of stats extra that you gain. So at 2 mana you get 1-2 extra stats. At 3 mana it starts not being worth it. So, but I see that this card has a lot of potential, but I'm still gonna put it in the 3-star categories because it hasn't seen a lot of play. Then we have Devouring Golem, Twin Strike. At the start of your turn, this creature destroys a random other friendly U20 to get +3/3. This can be super annoying, but it's kind of interesting. It works well with the Atlantean decks, but Atlanteans typically are powerful, so there's a possibility that it might destroy a more powerful creature. But having Twin Strike is quite good, and I like this stat line at 4/5. So I'm inclined to put it in the 4-star category, just because it can become a huge threat. And since Atlanteans haven't seen a lot of play yet, there's not a lot of data on whether the Atlantean cards are good or not. Then we have Sonic Juggernaut, where it removes frontline from a creature. This is mainly for utility purposes and if you wanna like go to the face. But I'm gonna put this card in the 3-star category because 3 stars, it's not great, it's not bad, it's okay. Then we have Cavern Arachne. Cavern Arachne can deal 6 damage to your god or obliterate the card in your hand. And it has frontline. It's a 5/6 with frontline, so you need to have a downside, and the downside is you're gonna take damage or obliterate the card. I don't think the upside that you get from doing this is good enough. I think that this card should be at least a 6/6 or even a 6/7. Because we're keeping with the theme of having a lot more health than attack. I would say that this needs to be a 6/7 for the downside that you're getting, because you need to compare this with things like Crimson Oni and things like that. So I'm gonna put this card at the 3-star category. It's okay. Then we have Ruthless Kaipora, which is the same as the Martyr, the Field Martyr, but more expensive card. And the thing is, well, the Field Martyr is a 0/1, the 3/3, meaning that if you have at least 2 other creatures, this is going to be a 5/5. It's a that line, so you need at least 3 other creatures to be able to put there. Since I put the Martyr in a pretty low bracket, I'm gonna put this in the 3-star category because this is better than the Field Martyr. But the thing is that 5 mana cards, you're not gonna have a lot of them in the deck, so you need to choose well, and this is not the card that you should put in. Then we have Aquatic Torturer that can't attack gods if you control another Atlantean. This card can attack the gods, and for 5 mana 6/5 is pretty good. And your Atlanteans have flank. I think this card is going to be a staple in any Atlantean deck that becomes super powerful in the future. But before then, once they start opening up the Ether bots trading, then this is going to be the Atlantean decks are going to become popular. But before then, this is not going to be that good. So I'm going to put it at 3 stars category. Then we have Annoying Combatant, 3/6 frontline. I think this stat line is pretty bad because for a 3/6 stat line, you much rather have like a Theban Brawler, for example, that costs 1 less and can give you a lot of extra flexibility with what you do with the other mana. And gaining 1 attack is not worth it, so I'm gonna put this card in the 2-star category because I think this is one of the worst cards. Then we have Lupin Elemental, where creatures damaged by this creature gain burn +1. I don't think this is enough. It needs to be at least burn +2 or 3 to be viable. The stat line's okay, but this is not good at all. So I'm gonna put it at the 2 stars as well. Then we have Cousteau. Cousteau is the same thing as the. It's kind of like an upgraded version of Dread Pirate. But the issue with this is that at 6 mana, you want to have a much better stat line, even if you're buffing other creatures by 3/3. Because if you sum this up, this becomes 5/1 for 6 mana, and it's terrible. Even if it gives you the flexibility, I think this card needs to be at least a 4/4 or a 4/5 in order to be viable to be played. So I'm gonna put this at even though it gives you some flexibility in terms of what you can kill, because it can function as a spell, I'm gonna put this in the 3-star category. Then we have Setoshi, like Satoshi, but Setoshi. Would be interesting to do a deck focused on Satoshi. Whenever you play an anim, add a random anim to your hand, and draw, add an anim to your hand. So this is a card that's focused on runes and anims. The stat line's okay. I think this card needs something, kind of a boost, something like a ward or even a protected. The ward might be too good, but maybe give it protected to be able to be viable, and that would make it a 4-star. But since it doesn't have it, I'm gonna put it at 3 stars because I never seen this go through. Because typically, if you're playing this, you're not going to have any mana to play the anim on the same turn, which means that this is not going to survive until the next turn, where you can start getting that extra mana from getting anim. So I'm going to put this at 3 stars. And then finally we have us Resin Void, which gives another random creature with the lowest attack +4/+4. There's been some times where I've completely got wrecked because I didn't see that this is a random other creature, so it's friend or foe. So you typically only want to play this if you have the tempo advantage, but still in that specific case you just need to play you do a word clear and then you play a small minion and you buff it up with +4/+4, and if you sum up the stats, this is basically an 8-9 worth of stats for 6 mana, which becomes super good. So I'm gonna put this in the 4-star category, and again we're gonna finish the card review, this part of the card review, with a 4-star review. So I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you smash the like button down below and answer the question in the description. And if you don't agree with any of the ratings, let's have a healthy discussion in the comments down below. Let's all participate and talk to me about your experiences using the cards, why they're better, why they're worse, why do you think a specific rating wasn't right, and let's discuss that. Anyways guys, I hope you guys like this video. Packs out, bye bye.